great.
Freely.
Welcome to 60 years of the Cleveland Browns. I'm Jeff Phelps. We are deep inside Cleveland Browns Stadium, in the inner sanctum that is the Browns' home locker room. My pregame speech is this. Over the next 2 hours, we will travel on a very special Cleveland Browns journey. We will hear 30 exclusive interviews and be joined by special guests right here in our studio. We will hear their thoughts and great stories about the Cleveland Browns and why Cleveland is the most passionate NFL city in the country. Now, we want to give you a little fair warning here. Get those TiVos going, set those VCRs. This is an absolute must-have for Browns fans, and there will be no DVD release. So fair warning, get everything going right now. To get things kicked off, here's a look at our starting lineup. We'll have a historical video from every era. On defense, we'll speak to Bob Gain and Jim Houston about the 1950s through the 60s. On offense, Reggie Rucker, Brian Brennan, and Jim Brown, covering 4 decades. Our head coach is Sam Ratigliano. For the fans, Big Dog. And at quarterback,
through the supplemental draft to get me to come back here or to come here the first time is really special and something I'm really thankful for.
You've experienced other teams, other communities around the country. Why is the relationship between this team and this community as strong as it is, Bernie?
Well, I think one thing is, the teams, especially the teams that I was a part of, very blue collar, not very flashy, pretty tough, workmanlike type teams. Also, too, and it's something where I think in the game today it's somewhat evolving the wrong way. But our team was a team. We hung out a lot off the field. You'd see us at spots, whether it's dinner, having drinks, taking the linemen out, being around town, really active in the community. And you actually recognize quite a few of the guys, even today, without their helmets, without their uniforms. They're kind of visible people because we were out in town a lot. There wasn't much of an entourage or the bodyguards or the agents or 18 different levels of people to get to us, and we were comfortable being out with people and being out in the community. Really enjoyed, even still today, doing quite a bit of the charity stuff in town, and I think that really bonded and related to the people of the area.
Bernie, your experience both on the field and off, why has this franchise been so successful?
Well, I think overall, the consistent, although the last few years have been rough, the consistent winning over the decades, I think a lot of it stems from some of the continuity within the ownership ranks, and then people really wanting to play good here. There's a history and an expectation level because of the success we had early in the organization, that the expectation to be in the playoffs, the expectation to win is there. So the bar is set pretty high.
Bernie, thanks. Stick with us.
Sounds good.
It all started in 1946 with a taxi cab company owner by the name of Mickey McBride. Mickey said, if I'm going to own a pro football team, it has to have 3 things. Number 1, the best promotions. Number 2, the best players. And number 3, the best head coach. So he hired an Ohio coaching legend and used his name for the team.
The Browns gained fame as the pass and trap team that first year, and it was Motley who made the trap famous. With a jet start, Motley was past the line of scrimmage in a flash. This run came against the Los Angeles Dons. (1947). The boys, who were professional rookies the year before, returned for their second season. It starts with the flag raising denoting the championship. The famed Buddy Young gets rude treatment in Cleveland. He's jolted by the Browns' captain, Lou Saban, and loses his headgear in the act. Colella is an offensive halfback in this game. Bob Cowan goes in motion. Colella takes the handoff from Graham, cuts over tackle, does some fancy stepping, using the interference beautifully as he moves toward a touchdown. 1948, an unbeaten season, 15 straight victories and another championship. Captain Lou Saban goes into a huddle with members of the defensive line. Tackle Chubby Grigg, guard Bill Willis, tackle Chet Adams, and end George Young. The captain briefs the linemen on the defensive signals. A close-up of the line of scrimmage and a view of the task facing defensive linemen of the Browns. Weldon Humble and Tony Adamley, a pair of linebackers, dropped the Yanks' Speck Sanders for a loss. Graham detects a crashing left end, sets up to pass, but then takes off on a wide end run. The official is toppled, but he still calls it a touchdown for Graham against the San Francisco 49ers. It was in 1948 that the Browns had to play 3 games in 8 days. The third was in San Francisco with the division title at stake. They trailed at the half, but this touchdown pass from Graham to Dub Jones helped achieve a 30-28 victory and the title. 1949, the last year for the All-America Conference, and the Browns lose only 1 game and make it 4 championships in a row. There was a bad day in San Francisco, a day when everything went right for the 49ers, like this great catch of Frank Albert's pass by Joe Perry. It was one of 8 touchdowns scored by the 49ers as they ended the Browns' unbeaten streak at 29 games. 4 years in a row, the Browns remained unconquerable in the All-America Conference, winning 4 consecutive championships. With the title game of 1949, the league passed out of existence and the Browns moved into the National Football League, along with 2 other members of the All-America Conference.
I think one of the reasons why the early Browns had such success is that he built a family team. Like, he saw everyone play that was on that first couple teams.
He had the ability to make you feel that you are an important person on this team. You're important, first of all, that you are an important person, and secondly, that you are an important person on this team and for this team. So that made you respect Paul very much, and that also made you want. That also made you want to please Paul, and you knew that the only way you could please that guy was to win football games.
Paul was a perfectionist, and he gave every chance to his team to win, and he just believed in repetition and repeating stuff over and over again until you got it down. And I just felt that every game we went into, because of the way we were prepared mentally and physically, and the guys that he had, that we were going to win the game, because he left no stone unturned. Everything was down perfect.
He had a psychology whereby if the game was close, he would come in the half, and he would talk very slow, very deliberate. You know, now we got to do this, we're going to do that, and we're going to do whatever. Willis, what in the world are they doing to you out there? It was one of those kind of things.
There was no second deal with Paul Brown. He either did it right, or he said, "Get your uniform."
Bernie, your family, huge Browns fans. Going back to that era, your dad, your uncle going to those games, and then when you were born in the 60s, they brought you to games. What kind of a family legacy was that for you guys? And your recollections of the stories your dad and your uncle told you about the guys in the past and the guys you witnessed as a kid?
Well, I remember my grandfather and my uncle, taking me lots of games, and being in Youngstown, where half the city is Steeler fans and half the city is Browns fans. You really pick it up on a daily occurrence, within the neighborhood, within school, because you're kind of bickering back and forth with people that are, Steeler fans or Browns fans. And you get a lot of talk within my family. The big thing that sticks out is it didn't matter how many games you won and lost during the year, as long as you won the 2 Steeler games.
That was about
I kind of believed in that for a while, up until I was actually quarterbacking, and I thought 2-14 wasn't exactly going to make me feel very good. But you really wanted the Steeler games and then the Bengal games as kids growing up.
Bernie Kosar. The Browns continue to honor their past each and every year. Just this season, the Browns honored Marion Motley and Bill Willis for being the first African-American players in the NFL during the modern era of the league. They put up this flag in the southwest corner of the end zone. When we return, the Browns dominated the NFL in the 1950s. We will also be joined by Bob Gain as 60 years of the Cleveland Browns continues.
60 years of the Cleveland Browns on FSN Ohio is brought to you by the 2007 Cleveland Auto Show. Open February 24th through March 4th.
A glimpse into the future. Outstanding innovation. The next generation. Turn the key and drive your senses wild at the Cleveland Auto Show. More than 1,000 dazzling new cars from concepts to classics. Keep it steady on the off-road driving course and the new performance track inside the show. Meet stars from the Cavs, NASCAR, Browns, and the Ohio State football team. Enter to win a new Saturn Sky Roadster and the $20,000 gasoline giveaway. Order tickets at clevelandautoshow.com. Free parking at the IX Center.
Next.
While other airlines are taking things away, Continental still offers things like pillows, blankets, and meals at mealtime. In other words, everything you should expect from an airline. Continental Airlines. Work hard, fly right.
After every Cavaliers game on FSN Ohio, watch the Cavaliers live postgame. Relive the game slam dunk by slam dunk and see how it all gets done. Watch the Cavaliers live postgame on FSN Ohio. Presented by Pontiac and GMC.
The GMC Acadia, Envoy, Yukon, and Sierra. A team that works hard, plays hard, and takes the game to a higher level, just like the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers live postgame presented by GMC. Log on to gmcohio.com today.
All around Cleveland, these billboards have gone up, thanking you, the fans, for 60 great years of memories.
Longtime Browns fans are probably thinking, hey, I know that big voice from somewhere. It belongs to Tom Glassnapp, public address announcer at the old stadium from the mid-1970s through the mid-1990s. And we are thrilled to have Tom as part of our special. The Browns were one of 3 teams from the old All-America Football Conference that joined the NFL in 1950. And from opening day on, they took it to the establishment and kept it up for the next 5 years.
Ironic as it may seem, Pro Football's World Series takes place the first week of the 1950 season as the Cleveland Browns, champions of the All-American Conference, take on the defending kingpins of the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. 85,000 fans gets a thrill in the opening period as Cleveland's Don Phelps is long gone on a 70-yard scamper to the end zone.
The night we played the Eagles, I don't think any team could beat us. The Eagles just couldn't get going. They never seen a passing attack like we had either. And that game changed the defensive strategies throughout the whole league.
Paul Brown's sophisticated aerial attack quickly made believers out of the Eagles and the rest of the NFL.
This was a great football team. Now, Paul Brown will go down in history as one of the great all-time NFL coaches. And the Cleveland Browns were for real.
We killed them that night, and we proved that we belonged.
It was the greatest team debut in sports history.
The World's Championship of Professional Football matches the defending title holders, the Detroit Lions, against the Eastern Conference kingpins, the Cleveland Browns. December 26, 1954, is a surprisingly mild and sunny day as some 44,000 fans filed through the turnstiles of Cleveland's Municipal Stadium to witness football's World Series.
It was one of those days where everything we did turned to gold. No matter what we did, it was right.
Automatic Auto was on target all afternoon. His touchdown pass to Ray Renfro was the opening salvo in an attack that piled up 56 points. Perennial antagonists Bobby Lane and Buddy Parker were held to just one touchdown, thanks to Cleveland's hard-hitting defense. The ancestral predecessors to the dog pound howled in delight as Graham finished with 6 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 3 through the air. It was the greatest performance of his fabled career. The Browns, once again, were the world champions of professional football.
60,000 sun-drenched fans are here in the huge Los Angeles Coliseum as the mighty Cleveland Browns, defending world champions, come charging onto the field. And the capable mentor who put them on top, Coach Paul Brown. The Browns will be counting heavily on the capable right arm of Otto Graham. Dub Jones, the man who scored 6 touchdowns against the Chicago Bears. And Lou Groza, the man with the magic toe.
It was Otto Graham's final game, his 10th title in as many years. To celebrate, Otto passed for 2 touchdowns and ran for 2 more.
Graham steps over the line, the last touchdown of his glamorous football career. A great football career is ended. This was Otto Graham's last game. Another great effort by the peerless quarterback. 2 touchdowns scored, 2 touchdown passes, and a grateful coach meets him at the sideline.
He really had a great day. It was a big score. Courtesy to honor him, took him out. These were rival fans, but they gave him a standing ovation.
You don't find that happening too often in professional sports where the opposition, the fans, who hate your guts, to put it mildly, will stand up and give you a standing ovation.
When he got to the sideline, he came over to me and walked up and said, "Thanks, Coach." And I said, "Thank you too, Otto." That's all it was said.
We're happy to now be joined by a man who started with the Cleveland Browns in 1952 and then was with the Browns from 1954 to 64, 5-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Bob Gain. Bob, great to see you. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I can't complain. A little backache, but that goes with the territory. I'm glad it's the only ache I got.
Isn't that the truth? You played college ball at Kentucky under a legendary coach in Paul Bear Bryant. And then you came to the Cleveland Browns and played for a guy who at that time was already a legendary coach in Paul Brown, Bob. What was it like as a young guy playing for Paul Brown?
To me, Paul Brown was the type of person you could talk to during a game. When I played with Bear Bryant, he was right, you were wrong, you didn't say nothing. But with Paul, you could come off the field and say, this guy I think's touched up. He's a little dazed. I'd go after him, go to work on him. Maybe a defensive back or a linebacker, and he would listen to you, and he would do it. And it was an enjoyment to play with a guy like that, where you can put your little input into the ball game, and he'll give you an answer, and he'll do things to cope with it.
Bob, the years you spent with the Browns, I think, were some of the most interesting in franchise history, from the early 50s to the early 60s, and you saw some of the greatest to ever play for this franchise. Well, let's talk about a few of them. Otto Graham.
The amazing thing about him, I remember playing middle linebacker for a couple of years, and we were in the 4-3. I'm in the middle there, and he threw a ball, looked like it was coming at me, but it went off to the side of me. When I turned around and looked back, the ball actually curved.
How about one of his wide receivers, Dante Lavelli?
Oh, yeah, Dante was a guy that every time he went out, he thought he should get the ball. He was open. But I seen 4 guys around him, and he's still hollering, Otto, I'm open. Then we had McSpeedy, Dub Jones. But I can still remember when the goalposts were on the goal line, I still remember Lavelli heading straight down there like we were about the 15, 10-yard line, whatever, running right to the goalpost, wide open, and the defender was trying to stay in front of him, and Lavelli runs up, grabs a pole with one arm, and does a complete 180, and Otto hits him with the pass, touchdown.
What is it about Cleveland that has made this such a great football town?
It was amazing, the fans, the super fans we had. I think today it's not the same, but of course we got great fans today. But I don't think it was the same as what we had back then. Of course, we seated, 80,000, 79,000. Sure. And I used to laugh when they'd say, don't ever have more than 2,000 over the seating limit. And you tell me you sell 7,000, 8,000 standing room tickets, plus your 79,000. How many does that come to?
A little more than 80,000.
You know, and Fire Marshal told Modell, don't ever have over 2,000 or 3,000 because we can't get up into the stands in case one guy had a heart attack. I remember sitting up above me. They had trouble trying to get up to the aisle because people were sitting in the aisles. But the greatest fans were right here in Cleveland. And it proved it the way they stuck by the Browns and were able, when the team came back, everybody jumped aboard and got their season tickets. And people went to the games, even though we were losing constantly, they were still going to the games, hoping that we'll get back to the great fine days we used to have.
Bob, a pleasure to have you with us. Continued good health to you.
Enjoyed it, very much so.
Bob Gain, Browns
Go
defensive
Browns.
tackle. When we return, Jim Brown joins us for an in-depth look at the Browns in the 1960s and, of course, the 1964 championship team.
3 years ago, the Browns celebrated the 40th anniversary of the 64 champions. Then Commissioner Paul Tagliabue presented the team with a specially designed trophy, since the original Ed Thorpe Trophy resides with the last team to win an NFL title before the Super Bowl, the Green Bay Packers.
Dan Geller here again for Fish Furniture, where we're the largest Tempur-Pedic dealer in Ohio. What's he doing?
I told him that Tempur-Pedic mattresses were made from a space-age foam developed by NASA.
Yeah, but...
And that the foam contours to your body so you don't flop around at night when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah, but he's not moving. Do you think he's okay?
I think he's really comfortable. In fact...
Come see us at Fish Furniture and try a Tempur-Pedic mattress for an unbelievable risk-free 4-month home trial.
Fish Furniture, everything for your way of living.
I am so hungover.
And you've got to be at work in an hour.
How come you feel so good? You drank more than I did.
I took Chaser, remember?
Chaser?
Chaser caplets.
Take 2 Chaser caplets with your first drink and 2 more later. Chaser is made of specially processed calcium carbonate and charcoal. These ingredients absorb toxins and acids, then pass them out of your system, kind of like a filter. The next morning, you'll wake up feeling great.
Looks like you should have taken Chaser too.
Chaser products are available at these fine stores.
After every Cavaliers game on FSN Ohio, watch the Cavaliers live postgame. Relive the game slam dunk by slam dunk and see how it all gets done. Watch the Cavaliers live postgame on FSN Ohio. Presented by Pontiac and GMC.
The Cavaliers are a team designed for action, and so is the entire Pontiac team for 2007. See them all at your Pontiac dealer, official sponsor of the Cavaliers live postgame. Visit your local dealer at PontiacOhio.com.
Pride Fighting Championships on FSN. The world's fattest men. Fighting's most unforgettable battles. Featuring lightweight champion Takanori Gomi, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, Kevin the Monster Randleman, and undefeated Fedor Emelianenko. Brace yourselves. Be there for the action. Sunday on FSN.
Welcome back to 60 years of the Cleveland Browns. I'm Jeff Phelps, absolutely thrilled to be joined by the man considered by most to be the greatest player to ever play in the National Football League. Once again, an active member of the Browns organization, Jim Brown. Jim, thank you for your time. Appreciate you being here.
Well, it's good to be here, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
You've always been a student of the game, Jim. With that in mind, the franchise you played for, the franchise you're with now, the Cleveland Browns, where would you place the Browns in the history of the NFL after 60 years in the league and being one of the key franchises? What do you think of the Browns' place?
Well, you know I'm biased, so I'll leave that alone for a minute. You look at Chicago and look at the great George Halas. You go to Green Bay and you look at that tradition. You go to New York and you look at the family there, the Marises and the Giants and the years. You have some great, great history. But when you think of Cleveland and the fans and Paul Brown, the old All-American championships and Otto Graham, would have to be number one.
You think so?
Absolutely.
You came to the team in 1957 out of Syracuse, highly thought of young college player, and you came in to play for the legendary Paul Brown. You made the transformation when Blanton Collier took over. And when you came in, Jim, it really started to build the franchise for the solid, very solid teams that came in the early 1960s. What was that growth process like, from Paul Brown to Blanton Collier to the championship in '64?
It was a great, process, because Paul was probably the leader as far as his vision. He created so many innovative things in professional football, and he ran a first-class organization. And, of course, the league caught up with him. The young coaches, Ally Sherman with the Giants, came in with some new concepts, and Paul became a little outdated, and Blanton stepped in, who was a great student of the game. And one thing that he did was invited us to be a part of the planning of the offense and defense, and that created a totally different dimension.
Jim and the Browns won that 1964 championship over the Baltimore Colts. 27-0 was the score. 3 years ago, every member from that team gathered at Severance Hall for a 40th anniversary celebration of that win over the Baltimore Colts for the NFL championship.
It's been my job over the years to be privileged to make films of the greatest dynasties in NFL history. Hallis's Bears, Lombardi's Packers, Walsh's 49ers. Now, the 1964 Browns might not be the best team of all time, but to me, they represent the best of our sport. A group of unselfish, intelligent athletes joining together in a pursuit of a dream, overcoming the odds, believing in each other, and achieving that dream. And as that dream lives on in our memories, the images that you will see next will never be forgotten.
Green again, wing back to the left. Flip to Jim Brown, turning left end. He's to the 40, 45, 50, 45, 40. Jim Brown to the 30. He's to the 20. Jim Brown is down at the 17-yard line. Again, Collins flanked to the right. Here is Ryan to throw. He's chased out of the pocket. He fires to Collins. Touchdown for the Browns. Kick. It's a high one. It's in the end zone. Lorik's going to come out from the 2 yards deep. He's to the 10. He's hit the 11 and down to the 11 by Kelly. Ryan Collins is out 6 at right end. Ryan back to throw. Pumps, throws a long one to Collins. He's wide open. He's got it at the 8. A touchdown for the Browns. Wing back to the right is Ernie Green. Flip to Jim Brown, turning right in. He's to the 35. He's down to the 30. He's to the 25. He's still on his feet to the 20. He's down inside to the 14-yard line. Collins splits 8 at right end. Ryan to throw. Blitz on. There's the long bomb to Collins, and he got the ball. He's in there for a touchdown.
Jim, when all these players are together and you look back at this season, can you possibly put into words the achievements of this team and what it's meant to you?
Well, first of all, let me say that what you have seen exhibited here tonight is real. You have some of the most intelligent individuals that's ever played football. We were probably the greatest overachievers that ever lived. We studied every aspect of the game. We dealt with every detail of the game. We were in top-notch conditions, and we played our roles.
It's an honor for me to be a part of this very special tribute to the Cleveland Browns team of 1964, to the history and to the great individuals who were part of that team. The 64 Browns were, as Jim Brown and so many of the other players have emphasized, a team. Not just a champion, but a championship team. They played a hard-nosed style of football. You all know that. We all heard about it tonight. They personified the work ethic of this town, their town, your town.
This is the trophy that was designed and presented to the 1964 Browns, on display now in the Browns lobby at their headquarters in Berea. Jim, we heard you say in the show that intelligence was the hallmark of that '64 team. Do you think that holds true with championship teams of today?
I think it's just the opposite today. I think a lot of teams have great talent, but they don't really win games. They're the benefactors of the other team making major mistakes. And they do things that are unheard of because they are thinking in an individual manner. For an example, a guy intercepts a pass when he should just drop it, and the game is over for San Diego. They win it. But he catches the pass, intercepts it, and then fumbles it and gives the other team a chance to win. Personal foul at a key time is totally unnecessary. In my day, you could not play with other players and do those kind of things. It had nothing to do with the coaches. So then one thing you have to remember is that about 95% of us were college graduates. We spent 4 years in college, not only playing, but nurturing our the academic area of our minds. So, yes, it played a big part in our ability to be successful, I think.
You've mentioned your buddy Gene Hickerson. He's up for the Hall of Fame. You've talked about him significantly in the past and how he deserves to be there. Why does Gene Hickerson deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, Jim?
Because he was the top blocker on one of the greatest lines of all times, offensive line. We had the greatest downfield blocking in the history of football. Gene was very fast, very effective. He was the best of that group. And he blocked for 3 Hall of Famers, Bobby Mitchell, Leroy Kelly, and Jim Brown. So what more do you have to do? He couldn't run the ball.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, so.
Jim, a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Jim Brown. When we come back, on 60 years of the Cleveland Browns, Jim Houston takes us through the back half of the 1960s.
A glimpse into the future, outstanding innovation, the next generation. Turn the key and drive your senses wild at the Cleveland Auto Show. More than 1,000 dazzling new cars from concepts to classics. Keep it steady on the off-road driving course and the new performance track inside the show. Meet stars from the Cavs, NASCAR, Browns, and the Ohio State football team. Enter to win a new Saturn Sky Roadster and the $20,000 gasoline giveaway. Order tickets at clevelandautoshow.com. Free parking at the IX Center.
For years, I've been telling you how to get cash now for your structured settlement or annuity payments. Times change, and your financial needs change with them. If you need cash today, J.G. Wentworth can help. We work with thousands of people just like you to get the most cash for their structured settlement or annuity payments. It's your money. Use it when you need it. Call J.G. Wentworth today.
Call 866-523-7561.
Here comes the channel Big Ten fans have always dreamed of. Here comes the Big Ten Network. From football to basketball and everything in between. 365 days a year. All Big Ten. All the time. The Big Ten Network, coming August 2007.
Your guide to the ultimate adventure vacation is here. Destination Wild, presented by Jeep. Join host Courtney Hansen for the series from Moore & Miller Productions that takes you to the country's most thrilling vacation sites. On the next Destination Wild, saddle up for a ride through the Wild Wild West as Courtney takes you steer wrestling, roping, and barrel racing in one of Tucson's biggest rodeos. Monday on FSN. Log on to DestinationWildTV.com and enter to win a Destination Wild trip of your own.
The 1965 championship game was Jim Brown's last game as a Brown when the Browns lost to the Green Bay Packers.
The man who replaced Paul Brown in Cleveland and became the second head coach of the Browns was Blanton Collier. He has Hall of Fame credentials himself, not only with his record, but in the way he led the Browns.
What I appreciate from Blanton Collier was his analytical approach and cerebral approach to the game. You learn that there's more to the game from the shoulders up than one ever perceives before. And if a player can learn to combine his great physical assets or gifts, if you will, and then open the envelope of the mental aspect of this game, then he can become a great player.
But when I came to the Browns, I never forget Blanton took me aside on more than one occasion after maybe I had bad coverage on a particular play, and he would literally walk me through the technique and try to get it fixed in your mind so that obviously you wouldn't make the same mistake again.
Blanton was the ultimate teacher. I mean, he was the guy that you could take, anything, and he'd find a way to understand it, and he'd find a way to communicate it. And I think, for a coach to be able to communicate something to a player to the point that you're on the same page and your understanding is the same is, an important ingredient.
We are now joined by one of the key players on Blanton Collier's Browns team. Four-time Pro Bowl player with the Browns, member of the College Football Hall of Fame, Jim Houston. Pleasure to see you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
What made it so special coming to the Cleveland Browns out of Ohio State, out of Massillon for you? You hit the trifecta of Northeast Ohio football between Massillon, Ohio State, and the Browns. What made it so special, Jim?
Well, what was special was in 1946, I sat in the end zone and looked out and wondered what it would take to ever get there. And then my dreams came true. I came in 1960 as a first draft choice for Cleveland and played for 13 years. And in one of those years, we were the champions.
When you joined the team in 1960, I would think it would have been a very interesting experience because Paul Brown was the head coach who had coached your brother at Massillon and at Ohio State and with the Browns, and now you were getting a chance to play for the same guy.
It was a privilege. It really was a privilege, and that's the way I looked at it because here was the greatest coach in football, and I had a chance, and he thought enough of me, probably because of Lynn, that he took me first.
It's quite an honor.
Yeah, it was.
You mentioned the championship, 1964. You beat the Baltimore Colts to win the NFL championship. What was that like for you as a young player on a great team winning a championship?
Well, I wasn't quite that young, but
let's
it was
give you
my
credit.
fifth year. The greatest thing about it was the interaction of all the players. And if any organization can get that interaction, they'll be successful. Paul Wiggin was playing right in front of me as a defensive end. I was the outside linebacker. And I knew that in all defensive calls, he was going to protect me. And then he knew that I was going to support him. And that's the way it was with all the guys. Vince Costello, middle linebacker. Galen Fisk, the right outside linebacker. All these guys knew that their partner, the guy who was in front of them or near them, would carry out the assignments to the nth degree.
One of your former teammates is up for the Hall of Fame this year, Gene Hickerson. Your thoughts on his candidacy and why you think he might belong?
He should have been in there a long time ago. I don't understand the process quite yet, but Gene was an outstanding guard. He was all pro, 6 or 7 times, and in the Pro Bowl, and he was a great guard. He really was a great guard. 260, 6'3", 6'3 and a half, something like that. And he'd take on anybody, and he did take on everybody.
It's a pleasure to see you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Jim Houston, Browns linebacker. When we come back, a look into the 1970s and a very historic event that happened at Cleveland Browns Stadium, or the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, as the case may be.
Cleveland hosted the first Monday night game in television history.
Nobody wanted to play it, fearful that it would die at the gate. And I said, let me take a chance in Cleveland. Just give me the Jets because of the New York audience. And we had the largest crowd in Browns history. A very, very dramatic night.
The pulse-pounding drama included Homer Jones' 94-yard kickoff return of the second half kickoff. In a game in which the stellar attraction was Joe Namath, the biggest play was a game-saving interception by linebacker Billy Andrews. A record crowd of nearly 86,000 and a national TV audience of millions witnessed Andrews' greatest moments.
Playing against Joe Namath was a great treat for me, you know, and then to take the pass, pick it up, and run it in for a touchdown on Monday Night Football. It has a tremendous meaning to me.
Tired of online dating sites dominated by fast-paced, two-faced, game-playing city slickers? Well, now there's a new online dating site for genuine, down-to-earth singles. FarmersOnly.com.
You don't have to be lonely at FarmersOnly.com.
City folks just don't get it.
Homeowners, what if instead of all these bills, there was just one bill? Now that's what could happen with a combo loan from Countrywide. It's a refi that could combine your first mortgage, your second mortgage, your car loan, and all your high-rate credit card debt into one easy loan with one low monthly payment. You could save hundreds every month. Call America's #1 home loan lender right now and ask for a combo loan. No one can do what Countrywide can. Don't wait.
Call 1-800-641-0740.
Who thinks about swimming outside in January? A genius! Because when the weather is the coldest, the deals are the hottest at The Great Escape, where you'll find the lowest prices of the year on above-ground pools, like a family-size pool for only $4.99. Shop this weekend and get free installation and be the first on your block to have your pool installed this spring. Plus, get no payments and no interest until 2008. Only at The Great Escape.
Escape your everyday. Shop The Great Escape.
It's a special Super Bowl edition of FSN's Pro Football Preview. Jay Glazer and our Super Bowl vets take you inside the big game like no one else.
This will be the time period that really defines us.
With in-depth interviews, expert analysis.
You have to have a quarterback who can take you all the way. I don't think anybody wants to see this defense right now.
And all the breaking news leading up to Super Sunday. Friday on FSN.
To pick Terry Bradshaw up like that and slam him down, I think is one of the seminal moments in Brown's history.
Trying to get Turkey Joe into Pittsburgh, like trying to get the president in there. Because they wanted Joe Turkey Jones bad.
Welcome back to 60 years of the Cleveland Browns. With the 1970s, the Browns moved into the same division as the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what was a geographic rivalry became a football rivalry. And nothing symbolized that more than this game and this play.
The next Sunday, the turnaround began in front of over 76,000 fans in a rematch with Pittsburgh. Don Cockcroft booted 4 long field goals to lead the offense. Cleveland needed every point it could get because, typical of a Brown-Steeler brawl, they had lost their quarterback early. Brian Sight went out with a concussion, and an unknown third-string quarterback and part-time dentist, Dave Mays, took over the controls. Thrown into his first NFL game, Dr. Dave led the Browns to their only touchdown of the game. It held up because the Browns' much-maligned pass rush tore through the Steeler forward wall and sacked Terry Bradshaw 4 times. The ferocity of their charge was symbolized by Joe Jones and this one memorable play. It sealed Pittsburgh's doom on a day Cleveland beat their arch rivals with only a single touchdown and a third-string quarterback in command.
Yeah, Joe, yeah. About time. The passion, the fire. Let's get in their faces. The street fight, which is always what it was. And, Joe was from the street, and I knew he wasn't afraid to go in there and do what he had to do. And to pick Terry Bradshaw up like that and slam him down, I think is one of the seminal moments in Brown's history, because no matter how far away that picture and that play gets, you'll always see Joe Turkey Jones slamming down Terry Bradshaw. And I think from then on, it was on between the Browns and the Steelers. For the rest of that time, there was always animosity. Bradshaw was a big, strong quarterback. Turkey, grabbed him. Crowd's cheering. You don't hear a whistle. He's squirming like a fish on a hook, and Turkey just slammed him down. You thought for a minute the guy might have broke his neck. And at that point in time, they didn't have the X-ray units in the stadium, but they wanted the doctors to examine Bradshaw, so they brought him in our locker room in the back, and I remember going in after the game was over and seeing if the guy was okay. You know, at that point in time, he still had no clue what, you know, state or country he was in. You know, for all he knew, he was in La La Land.
Terry Bradshaw was a very strong individual who broke a lot of tackles and made a lot of late runs. He wasn't a guy that just went down, you know, because he didn't want to get hit. And, you know, Turkey, in fairness to him, when he wrapped him up, whistle hadn't blown, he was going to take him down. And he did it in a manner that looked pretty bad and was pretty bad, but at the same time, whistle hadn't blown, and he was doing what he was taught to do.
I don't think Turkey was trying to hurt Terry Bradshaw. It was just the way he threw him over his shoulder. I mean, he was hoping it might be down on his back rather than on his head. So I don't think it was anything that Joe did intentionally, even though Joe had all kind of threats afterwards, you know, from Pittsburgh. We couldn't take Joe to Pittsburgh with us.
On this particular play, he just made sure that he had Bradshaw, and he dunked him on his head, and he put him out the game. And after the game, you know, he comes in and everybody high-fived him and all that. He comes over to me and I said, Joe, I said, you might be in trouble. He said, what do you mean? I said, man, Bradshaw could die. That's involuntary manslaughter. This is beyond football. You could go to jail. He said, really? I said, you need to go over, don't take nothing off, and see about Bradshaw. At least make it look like you give a damn. He said, okay. And he went over. And when he came back, I said, man, hey, you in Cleveland, man.
Joining us next, the player whose play covered 2 decades and whose association with the Browns is now closing in on 4 decades, and that's a club record, Doug Deacon.
In 1963, the Browns were in Dallas to play the Cowboys when Paul Wiggins shot these never-before-seen home movies of the team, boarding the bus to Saturday practice. Practice was in a public park, but it didn't stop the Browns from winning the next day.
A glimpse into the future. Outstanding innovation. The next generation. Turn the key and drive your senses wild at the Cleveland Auto Show. More than 1,000 dazzling new cars from concepts to classics. Keep it steady on the off-road driving course and the new performance track inside the show. Meet stars from the Cavs, NASCAR, Browns, and the Ohio State football team. Enter to win a new Saturn Sky Roadster and the $20,000 gasoline giveaway. Order tickets at clevelandautoshow.com. Free parking at the IX Center.
Thank you so much for bringing me here. I really love it here. Like, first impression, would you marry me?
There's so many different things about me that I do not like.
I'm a princess, and I deserve to be treated like one.
Miranda's not happy. Perhaps Jason could show some interest in how Miranda's feeling.
I like peanuts. I like cashews, especially candied.
Like, my life is so not together right now.
Chestnuts, pine nuts, anything in a trail mix.
You know who would love to meet you? My mom. She's here. Mommy?
Tired of bad dates? Imagine how much time and money you'd save if you invested just 30 minutes to fill out the eHarmony online questionnaire. Because once we get to know you, we can connect you with other singles who have been pre-screened for compatibility with you. So on your first eHarmony date, you'll have so much in common. And that's the beginning of a great relationship. It all starts with your eHarmony personality profile, free when you log on to eHarmony.com today.
Think you're tough? Well, try strapping yourself to 2,000 pounds of massive torque. The world's toughest rodeo storms into Quicken Loans Arena for one show only. February 24. A full night of great rides and incredible wrecks, plus a free concert. This is rodeo like you've never seen before. Tickets start at just $17, and kids 12 and under are always half price, plus they get a free cowboy hat. But reserve your seats now at the Quicken Loans Arena box office or through Ticketmaster.
He played in 203 consecutive games. Yes, that's 203 games. I announced them all, and I still didn't see any holding calls.
Welcome back to 60 years of the Cleveland Browns. We are very happy to be joined by the man who never missed a game in 14 seasons as a member of the Browns. Holds the consecutive games played record at 203, consecutive starts at 194. Offensive tackle Doug Deacon. Doug, a pleasure. Thank you for being with us.
Well, nice to be here.
You came out of Illinois as a tight end, which is an interesting thing. Drafted in the 6th round by the Browns as an offensive tackle. What were you thinking when you were drafted as an offensive tackle, Doug, a position you had never played?
Well, coming out of Illinois, unfortunately, we were on probation all 4 years that I was there. I was too late for the money there and too early for the money in the NFL.
That didn't work out too well.
No, it didn't. But the only really scout that I ever remember coming by and watching me at practice was a guy named Lou Groza. And it turned out I became the third left tackle in the history and replacing Dick Shafrath, who had replaced Lou. And I got to the Browns, and I had hoped that they were going to give me a shot at tight end. Unfortunately, they gave me a number that had the first digit 7, and I knew I was in trouble. And during the exhibition season back then, you played the exhibition season to get in shape. And so I probably played 3/4 of the 6 exhibition games, and then actually they waived me. The Browns waived me prior to the last 2. And Miami claimed me, and the Browns withdrew the waiver thing, and they brought me back, and they put me on the cab squad for the last 2 exhibition games. And then when the regular season started, they put me on the active roster with the idea that I was a better special teams player than Paul Stroba, who they had drafted in the 3rd round. And I was basically a special teams player. Then about the 6th or 7th game of the season, Bob McKay, the right tackle, went down, and so they put me in at right tackle. And I had basically, I think, 3/4 of experience playing tackle in my life, and I got into the huddle, and I get to see Leroy Kelly and Gary Collins and Gene Hickerson and Bill Nelson, the great Browns of the championship season. And then I looked, I got to the line of scrimmage and was Claude Humphrey, and I thought, oh boy, nice. This is going to be a rough one. So I guess I did well enough that a couple weeks later, Ray Prohaska, who was then the offensive line coach, said, hey, kid, we're going to start you next week. And I said, who, me? And that was it. So, a lot of, I think, sports is about your athletic ability, and a lot of it's about luck. And I was just lucky that Dick Shafrath, the year prior, had run from Worcester to Cleveland to get a free car, and so when he got to training camp, he had no legs left. And also, I guess I was lucky that the Browns traded Epi Barney to the Chicago Bears for a 6th-round draft pick that happened to be me.
Doug, it was during your time with the team, I actually from the beginning, I think, where the Steeler rivalry really became a big deal to the fans in Cleveland and to both franchises. How did that evolve?
Well, I think, for so long the Browns owned the Steelers, and then all of a sudden when they got Bradshaw, they got Joe Green, they got Jack Lambert, they got a nucleus on defense, and if you look at the 11 guys that started on that steel curtain defense, I think 10 of them went to the Pro Bowl at one time or another. And we had basically the same core of people on offense. The offensive line started with Barry Darrell and then Cody Risen at right tackle. Then you had Henry Shepard at right guard. You had DeLeon DeMarco at center. You had Robert Jackson and Hickerson at left guard, and myself at left tackle. Well, when you play against the same group of guys for a period of time, and all of a sudden those guys become king of the mountain because they win their 4 Super Bowls, there's a little animosity. And you look at the Steelers press guide, and you read these things since 1970. Well, hey, the Steelers were before 1970. They like to forget that part of it. But, it was just the games were physical.
What do you think about the 2007 Browns? What needs to happen?
Well, I think, one of the things that needs to happen is we need to get a little bit more athletic in the offensive line. I think the fact that we don't run a lot of screens and sweeps is indication that we're kind of locked into a center of the field or wherever the hash marks are in regards to where the ball is. I think we need to get some stability at the quarterback position. Find the guy that's going to be our quarterback and find an offense that works for him. I think we've got to get more production out of our running back. On the defensive side, I think we probably need to get some youth in our defensive line. And in the secondary, we need to find that corner to go opposite of Lee Bowden because, we've spent a lot of money in free agency, and we've got a lot of bad luck in free agency between Gary Baxter and LaCharles Bentley. If you have those two people, then it's a different story. But unfortunately, like I think we started when we were talking, there's a lot of skill and athletic ability that is involved in sports, but luck is also a big key.
A pleasure.
Always.
Thank you for your work on the field and off for the Cleveland Browns.
Thank you.
Deke's Cardiac Kids were coached by Sam Ratigliano, and he joins us next on the Browns at 60.
The Cardiac Kid games happened because you had a guy playing quarterback that wasn't afraid to take a chance. And having the utmost confidence in the players that were around him.
I am so hungover.
And you've got to be at work in an hour.
How come you feel so good? You drank more than I did.
I took Chaser, remember?
Chaser?
Chaser Caplets.
Take 2 Chaser Caplets with your first drink and 2 more later. Chaser is made of specially processed calcium carbonate and charcoal. These ingredients absorb toxins and acids, then pass them out of your system, kind of like a filter. The next morning, you'll wake up feeling great.
Looks like you should have taken Chaser too.
Chaser products are available at these fine stores.
Xavier College hoops heat up, and the action's on FSN Ohio. The Musketeers want to light up the court when they face the St. Louis Billikens. Xavier, St. Louis, Wednesday at 7 on FSN Ohio. The Cavaliers rock the rim, and the action's on FSN Ohio. LeBron James and the Cavaliers want to light up the Q when they face Gerald Wallace and the Bobcats. Cavaliers, Bobcats, tomorrow at 7:30 on FSN Ohio.
Hey, Mom, how was your day? Pretty good.
He killed my father, he killed my brother, and both my sisters. Pancreatic cancer killed them all. We don't know how or why they got it, but we knew it, and it was already too late. There still isn't any way to detect it early or to treat it effectively. But we do know the cure. Research. Just look how far we've come with other diseases.
Baby-faced Brian was abetted by the most prolific trio of receivers in the league. With Rutka, Newsom, and Logan, Sipe is like a gourmet at a feast. He can pick and choose, and everything is good. 3 pairs of the surest hands in football.
The 1970s weren't just about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were also about the Paul Brown-led Cincinnati Bengals. When Brian Sipe and company came from behind to beat the Bengals in Cincinnati and put themselves in position for the playoffs, there was a greeting waiting for the Browns at the airport, not seen for a pope or a president, but the folks were there for the Browns.
We'd gone down to Houston, and we had won down there. And at that point, we used to fly into the Hopkins Airport to the terminal. And there were so many people in the airport waiting for us that, you know, some of the tiles were melting from the body heat. And I mean, it was a major league zoo. But then we lose the Hail Mary game up in Minnesota. So, you know, it's either go down to Cincinnati and win or go home.
The night that we beat Cincinnati, and we were coming home, and we had won the division, and you know, we couldn't land in the jetway, and the plane pulled over, and there was then the mayor Voinovich at the bottom.
Comeback City, and we are going to be #1.
There was so many people at the airport, you could not get down the hallway. I mean, there's people standing on phones, and you know, phones are falling. I mean, it was very scary because there were so many people. And fortunately, they were smart enough to try to find our wives, and you know, I mean, we couldn't find anybody. I mean, the entire airport was wall-to-wall people.
It was a madhouse. Nobody expected it. You know, we expected to win the game. You know, maybe have family there, maybe a few other people at the airport, you know, to pick you up. It was a mob. They must have had, this is no joke, 25,000 people were lined up at the airport. They had to reroute us off the airplane to buses to get to our own cars. We couldn't even get to our own cars because there were so many people in those parking lots and at the airport. It was unreal.
Just people everywhere. You think the president landed. And then to a lot of the people, we were like the president.
Just the ride, the experience amongst the teammates and with the fans, the bonding with them was unique and something that that was the greatest memory. It was a great year for us and the fans.
We are very happy to be joined now by the man who was the lightning rod for all of that excitement, head coach Sam Rutigliano. Sam, thanks for being with us.
I don't know about that lightning rod, but I'm glad to be here.
Have you ever seen anything throughout your career, since your career, that matched the excitement of that Cardiac Kids era?
No, and to think, that the Cleveland Browns are the flagship of the fleet, but that year was just absolutely unbelievable. Sometimes when I think about having been there and done that, it seems unreal.
It was a wonderful time.
Right.
Tough decisions in coaching often pay future dividends. You had some tough decisions to make as head coach of the Browns. What do you think were your toughest decisions?
Well, I think probably the toughest decision I made was initially coming here for the interview. Peter Hadhazy was an assistant general manager at the New England Patriots, and he was the guy that talked Art Modell in getting me an interview. The hardest decision is what you're seeing in pro football today. Peter Hadhazy and Art were discussing the previous staff, which was a lot of good people that Forrest Gregg had here. And they were going back and forth, and Pat Modell says, well, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. You're here to be the coach. Let's hear what you have to say. And Art said, that's right. What do you think about this? and I
Pat
said, well,
said that.
Pat, that's exactly right. And I had a list, which I had done. And I said to Art Modell, and I thought about it for about 10 seconds because it probably could have lost me the opportunity. I said, Art, with the commonality of a 160-hour week with coaches, and having been with 4 coaches for 11 years, and 2 of those situations, they threw hand grenades and blew up the room, and we all got fired. If you have any idea to mandate a staff, then I don't want the job, because I want to select every single coach on this staff.
Wow.
I want, with your approval, I want you to be involved in the interview, but I must do that. And you're seeing what's going on. There's a couple of hand grenades that have been blown up this year.
Why is this fan base so passionate about the team, Sam, and the people who played for and coached the team?
Well, I think the number one, obviously, we had a lot of success, and it was a very, it was a very exciting team. In 1980, 13 of the 16 games were decided in the final 2 minutes, and we all know the history of the Cardiac Kids. Then the other thing I think, I really have been part of the community in so many areas. I mean, I could speak 365 days a night. I'm talking about churches, high schools, coaches, and I think people just like the show that we do. They know that I know they want answers, and they don't want any answers but the truth. And I think that's probably, it's been a good chemistry for me, and I'm really happy about that and very fortunate.
A pleasure, sir.
Well, thank you.
A pleasure back then and a pleasure now.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
When we return, we will take a look at that play that will forever live in infamy in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. Seems like it was in front of about 250,000 people now at the stadium. Plus the viewpoint of a man who was on the field, wide receiver Reggie Rucker.
A glimpse into the future. Outstanding innovation. The next generation. Turn the key and drive your senses wild at the Cleveland Auto Show. More than 1,000 dazzling new cars from concepts to classics. Keep it steady on the off-road driving course and the new performance track inside the show. Meet stars from the Cavs, NASCAR, Browns, and the Ohio State football team. Enter to win a new Saturn Sky Roadster and the $20,000 gasoline giveaway. Order tickets at clevelandautoshow.com. Free parking at the IX Center.
I'm Matthew Lesko, and I'll show you how to get free money, free money, free money.
So, okay, Matthew Lesko is an energetic man. And you're probably skeptical about getting free money. But wouldn't you trust a man whose books are used at Harvard University? I bought one of Matthew's books, and I was able to get 3 grants to finish college. Matthew also helped me invest in real estate, and now I have property worth over $2 million.
In the past 25 years, I've helped over 3 million people learn about government programs. I've written over 100 books, and the truth is there is money available for anybody to start or expand a business. Money to invest in real estate, money to go back to school and get an education. There's even money to pay your bills and living expenses.
So take control of your life, and let Matthew show you how to get the money to do what you've always wanted to do.
Join my Government Money Club now for only $19.95. Learn what money programs you're eligible for and get free help filling out applications. Call now or go to governmentmoneyclub.com.
It's a pivotal ACC showdown. Can Duke prove it belongs with the nation's best? Or is another upset in the cards for Florida State? ACC Sunday Night Hoops, presented by Pizza Hut, this week on FSN.
On the next Destination Wild, presented by Jeep, Courtney saddles up and takes you steer wrestling and barrel racing in one of Tucson's biggest rodeos. Monday on FSN. Log on to DestinationWildTV.com and enter to win a Destination Wild trip of your own.
Welcome back to 60 Years of the Cleveland Browns. I'm Jeff Phelps. Still coming up on the show, Reggie Rucker, Brian Brennan, and Mike Pagel. When the Oakland Raiders came to Cleveland on that very memorable winter day in 1981, the Browns were favorites. Forget the Ice Bowl. With the snow and the wind at the stadium that day, this game felt like the Arctic Bowl, which didn't help the pain that followed.
The stadium may be new, but on a day like today, 26 years ago, the play was called Red Right 88. As the Browns celebrate their 60th anniversary, we remember the game and the play, Red Right 88.
The roar in that stadium was tantamount to jet engines. And it was just pulsating as we were on that drive. And it was another Cardiac Kid drive with the script already set there for us. Time running out, all the weapons out there.
We had missed 3 field goals, we had missed an extra point. It was not a chip shot because we were kicking into the lake, and it was unbelievable that day, minus 29 wind chill factor.
I had kicked all year with torn cartilage in my left knee and 2 herniated discs, and I was far from 100%, and I think that weighed heavily on Sam's decision. I'd missed earlier in the game.
Brian and I had talked about it. We're going to run the ball on 1st down and 3rd down. On 3rd down, we'll run the ball so that we keep the clock going. So they got to do one of 2 things. They got to, at that point, the clock would probably be at less than a minute. They got to give up that last timeout or let the clock run down to 35 or 40 seconds. But we're not going out of here without having the opportunity to throw the ball. We're going to throw the ball on 2nd down. Because if we throw an incompleted pass, the clock will stop, but we'll get it going on 3rd down. That was the plan.
I said, Brian, whatever you do, get it on the right hash mark.
What they call Red Right 88, I'm thinking, oh man, that's a chance. But I didn't want to think about it because, again, sometimes you live by and you die by.
It was a play that Dave was going to come from the other side underneath, and we were going to put up what we call a pick for him. And it was going to just give Dave a chance just to run away from Dwayne Osteen. If someone got a quick release off the ball clean, then you became a viable player. And that's what happened. I beat Mike cleanly off the ball. Now I attract Brian's attention. And he did what he had done 900 other times. He just said, okay, now that's my read. Take it to Ozzy. Don't wait for Dave to come underneath. And that's what they did. The ball held up in the wind. And Mike is fighting for his life to get back and looked up and made the interception.
The thing I guess you remember the most is when the ball was intercepted by Mike Davis, how quiet it got. I mean, it was like, it was just somebody turned a switch and boom, there was no noise whatsoever.
Joining us now, a few years later, and without the hat, wide receiver Reggie Rucker. Reggie, a pleasure. Welcome.
Nice to see you, Jeff.
You've always been a very opinionated guy. You made your career being an opinionated guy after you left pro football. When you came to the Browns, you and Brian Sipe, how did that mesh?
Not too well.
At least at first.
Yeah, at first. To set that up, I came from New England, and I had Jim Plunkett throwing to me. And there wasn't anything that I couldn't run that Plunkett couldn't throw. And when I came here, this franchise was at a low point. They hadn't won very many games. There was a coaching change. Forrest Gregg was now the head coach. But Art Modell called me and talked to me on the phone. He told me that they had made the trade. And he said, I want to bring you here. We're going to throw lots of passes to you. And working with Brian Sipe, he was different. He wasn't the prototypical quarterback. He didn't have the big arm. He didn't have the big size. And it was too early at that point for me in our relationship to recognize how smart this guy was, how cool he would be under pressure, and how charismatic he would be, and all of those things, leadership. And those, because I think some of that is forgotten about today in terms of being a quarterback. And as we went on and the relationship grew, I learned that, wow, there's more to quarterbacking than just having a great arm. Because if there are so many guys that are not in this league today who had great arms but didn't have anything up here,
And one of the things you have to know about the Sam Rutigliano era is that when he came in, and I think this was probably more for Brian Sipe than anybody else, he told us all that when you get to this level, almost everybody has the same skill.
How about the passion of Browns fans? You saw it as a player. You see it now as a resident of the city.
It's these really and truly are some of the very best fans in all of sports. Now, I grew up in Washington, D.C. If you've ever been to Washington, D.C., the Redskin fan is incredible. I mean, they really are. And this fan here, the Browns fan, rivals and beats that because of what they did, what they showed the National Football League and the world when the team left here, that they were just that committed to this particular football team. Because you see, there are other things in other cities, but in Cleveland, and I know Cavs fans will say, yeah, we got LeBron James, but LeBron just got here.
He did just get here.
Yeah, he just got here. This has been, and I don't care, you can have 5 LeBron Jameses, you can have all the baseball players you want. This is the soul of a community, the Cleveland Browns. It's deeply rooted in what you do here, how you grow up, what you were watching, the power and the strategy and the sheer will that is playing football. It's just you against me and this talent that we have. And there's so many games going on in the big overall chess match that even the casual fan has to become an obsessive fan once you get identified and connected to this sport. And the Cleveland Browns, when you came here, you recognized that this is the sport. This is the game. This is the home of pro football, the Hall of Fame down the road in Canton. This is where it began. And so you're playing in the bedrock of what the game of football is all about.
Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
And a pleasure to watch you on the field.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Thank you.
Browns wide receiver Reggie Rucker. Reggie mentioned his teammate Ozzie Newsome. When we come back, why Ozzie Newsome remains so special to all of his former teammates and to all of us.
He was always there for us, and when we needed, a big play, 10, 15 yards, they always went to Ozzie.
Heavy gauge wire, cotton padding, luxurious quilted covers, Amish-built wood frames, and real working box springs combine to make our mattresses second to none. Our coils work every day to support you every night, selling direct, eliminating the middleman, and passing the savings on to you. All add up to more mattress for less money at the Original Mattress Factory.
When the lazy sun starts to rise, dance with me, swing with me, like a cloud floating in the sky. Twist with me, turn with me, on this island of make-believe. There is no one else I can see. Hold me close deep inside your eyes, and your moves mesmerize. When the whispers start to fade away, there's nothing else left to say. Move me in the rhythm of your
Cross the header, into the goal, a spectacular goal!
Swing me fast, swing me free.
Matt College Hoops return, and the action's on FSN Ohio. The Akron Zips are pumped for a battle in the paint, but Ball State Cardinals are up for the challenge. Akron, Ball State, Saturday at 4 on FSN Ohio.
This week on FSN's Pro Football Preview. Our Super Bowl vets tell you what's really going on behind the scenes as the Colts and Bears get ready for the big game. Friday on FSN.
With this catch this year against Houston, Kellen Winslow tied Ozzie Newsome's single-season pass-catching record. Ozzie set the mark twice in 1983 and 1984.
The Cleveland Browns have 15 men enshrined in Pro Football's Hall of Fame and puts the Browns in the top 5 of all NFL teams. Naturally, all 15 are terrific talents. But in talking with 60 years of Browns players, one man stood out for his talent on the field and his intelligence and demeanor off the field.
Ozzy's work ethic and his ability, his natural ability, and his love of the game, I think is what made Ozzy such a great player. He was an athlete that could have played receiver, bulked up a little bit, and played tight end.
Ozzy was Ozzy. I mean, he was the wizard. He was like the old man, but also he's the young man. I mean, he was the glue pretty much to everything. I used to say about Ozzy, he can catch a BB in the dark. I mean, that's how good his hands were. I mean, and not only that, Ozzy was so smart at the tight end position.
And he was a big deal here in Cleveland. Caught a lot of passes, great tight end, and didn't really realize it until, he decided that he was going to hang it up, and, he was gone, because he was always there for us, And kind of like in games, he was always there for us, and when we needed, a big play, 10, 15 yards, they always went to Ozzy. He was that steady. He was the rock, he was that rock there for us.
And he was unselfish, and yet he caught 670 balls or whatever it is, and didn't care if he caught one. And it's just a quality individual. His skill would shine every game.
I think he was an outlet that Bernie always knew that he can go to and was going to be available for him if what was happening outside was not developing the way he wanted it to develop. But you cannot say enough about Ozzie Newsome. We were just so happy when he made the Hall of Fame. I think all of us were, because we were all there for him and patting him on the back. And we were just kind of hoping there the rest of us could slide right in there.
He would have done anything for anybody on that football team. It wasn't even, it wasn't like it was just a clique with him and the receivers. Sometimes you see little groups hanging together. Ozzie was there for everybody. If you needed him, he was there.
Not many people with Ozzie's skills, Ozzie's successes, are as nice as Ozzie. And his niceness, or his quality of person, permeated the team. It went through everybody. And I think that created a great chemistry when I was there as a Cleveland Brown. It's the little things that Ozzie would do that created the chemistry. And he was unselfish, and yet he caught 670 balls or whatever it is, and didn't care if he caught one. And it's just a quality individual. His skill would shine every game.
I said to him, Ozzie, I think you can make it as a receiver if you don't get too big, but I think you could be a great tight end. He said, stop. Coach Bryant, Bear Bryant, said to me that my best position in the NFL would be a tight end. So I said, well, I'm in pretty good company. People talk about people with great hands, but Ozzie had great hands. I saw him once against Minnesota drop a ball in a game in 7 years.
Ozzie was a guy, he was a smart guy. I mean, he understood the game, and he had great hands, and he had that uncanny ability, to get open. And he developed a great relationship with the quarterback, Brian Sipe. And, he was blocking-wise, well, Ozzie was on the field. I always tell whoever gets his number, I always tell him, I said, there's a lot of good blocks left in that jersey. But no, Ozzie is a special person.
Tight ends weren't used as much in offenses back in those days, but when Ozzie came, we opened it up and made him a big part of the offense, really stretched a lot of defenses that way and made him be honest. I mean, quite honestly, we were glad when he was running for passes, because he wasn't a very good blocker, to be honest with you.
He was not your prototype tight end where he was 6'5", 6'6", 260, 270, But Ozzie could catch the ball, and that's one thing that Ozzie could do. You put it anywhere near Ozzie, whether it was low, high, in the middle, Ozzie was catching the ball, and that's one thing where we built our offense around Ozzie Newsome. I mean, not too many offenses are built around tight ends. Usually built around a running back or a wide receiver, but you build some of your offense around a tight end. He's a special tight end.
Everything he did was, he worked on the little things. I played with a guy up in Canada who was a lot like that. His name was Freddie Bolitnikoff. He's a guy who worked on his stance. He worked on how he came off the ball. His patterns were perfect. He was a technician. I think Oz was a lot like that. He worked on every aspect. He just didn't really, he had more natural talent than Fred Bolitnikoff, but he never took that for granted. He worked he was just a technician.
He was always there for us, and when we needed, a big play, 10, 15 yards, they always went to Ozzie. He was that steady. He was the rock, he was that rock there for us.
Unfortunately, Ozzie was on the field for a heartbreaking part of Browns history. The words not to be spoken here, only to be seen.
I catch the pass against Dennis Smith in the AFC Championship game when we were playing Denver here at home. I scored the touchdown. Bernie and I are on the sidelines just, hugging each other.
Hey, I know I was thinking that. I'm like, hey, we're on our way. There's no way they're going 98 yards on our defense. There's no way.
We knew we had a good game until John Elway figured out who he was and found a way to come back.
The last one, you see the Big Daddy's arm go up, and then it comes down, and the ball goes right through it, and you could never understand.
I can't believe it, and the place goes quiet. And then I don't know how long it was. It seemed like it was 10, 15, 30 seconds. You tell me. All of a sudden, the place just starts cheering, and they start screaming, and everybody's standing up and clapping for us and cheering and screaming, yeah. And and I think that was the first time, not the first time, but it was a really good indicator to us, the players, at the relationship we had with the fans. Because we, for that brief moment when we knew we had lost and they knew we had lost, it hit us all. It hit us hard, obviously hit the fans hard too. But it didn't take them long to realize, you know what? Okay, we lost, but these guys had a hell of a year. And they showed us the appreciation. So to be able to do that and to rally as fans that quickly and all of a sudden stand up and cheer, and it was amazing.
In this game, the Browns turned what seemed a rout into one of the most memorable comebacks in playoff history.
Loops it for Biner, who got it at the 15, 10, 5, touchdown Browns. Biner sneaks across the goal line, and the Browns are alive and kicking in Denver.
The turning point came on a final drive that would end in heartbreak.
From the 8-yard line, Kosar reaches under center, Greg Riccozzi. Hands off the Biner on the draw. Biner inside the 5 to the 4 to the 3 to the 2. He almost a football, and the Broncos have it, I believe. Doesn't seem fair. Let's wait and see when they unstack. There's a big pile up, and Denver has it at the 2-yard line.
Curtis Biner has played his heart out to have that happen.
A glimpse into the future. Outstanding innovation. The next generation. Turn the key and drive your senses wild at the Cleveland Auto Show. More than 1,000 dazzling new cars from concepts to classics. Keep it steady on the off-road driving course and the new performance track inside the show. Meet stars from the Cavs, NASCAR, Browns, and the Ohio State football team. Enter to win a new Saturn Sky Roadster and the $20,000 gasoline giveaway. Order tickets at clevelandautoshow.com. Free parking at the IX Center.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Mercury Mariner has been winning over lots and lots of Honda and Toyota owners. They're moving to Mariner for styling and sophistication the other guys can't touch. Now we're making it easier for you to make the switch with a no-charge moonroof and no-charge 6-disc CD changer. It's your turn to discover why. You've got to put Mercury on your list. Now get Mariner with 0% financing for 60 months, plus a no-charge moonroof and 6-disc CD changer.
From the heart of Las Vegas, this is the Poker Dome. MansionPoker.net and FSN bring you the series that is revolutionizing poker forever. With all new groundbreaking technology that puts you inside the game like never before. The future of tournament poker has arrived. The MansionPoker.net Poker Dome Challenge series continues Sunday on FSN.
Pride Fighting Championships on FSN. The world's fattest men. Fighting's most unforgettable battles. Featuring lightweight champion Takanori Gomi, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, Kevin the Monster Randleman, and undefeated Fedor Emelianenko. Brace yourselves. Be there for the action. Sunday on FSN.
Backpedaling, firing, end zone, touchdown!
Welcome back. Bernie to Brennan not only has a nice ring to it, but that phrase still holds true today. Joining us now, Bernie's TV sidekick on the preseason telecast of the Browns, Brian Brennan. Brian, thank you very much for being with us.
Great to be here, Jeff.
Brian, you came to the Browns in 1984. You were a fourth-round draft choice at a time when the Browns needed some help at wide receiver. Dave Logan had retired. Reggie Rucker was gone. What kind of an opportunity was that for a young guy, a fourth-round draft choice, to come in and try and make his mark in the NFL?
Well, first of all, it was an honor just to play for the Cleveland Browns. It was an honor to be drafted in the NFL. I come from Detroit. The Detroit Lions were never very good when I was growing up, so the late 70s with the Cardiac Kids, to come to Cleveland, play for Sam Rutigliano, learn from Ozzie Newsome. They had such great players when I was there. Initially, with Ozzie Newsome, became one of my mentors. I tried to be like Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie and I used to have a competition. Who would be the first on the field? Who could catch more passes in the day? And, you know, so it was kind of fun to learn from Ozzie Newsome.
When the situation came up with the Browns and Bernie Kosar came to the team, you guys immediately developed an interesting on-the-field relationship. You guys really seemed to click. How did that happen, Brian?
Well, I think all the receivers back then, myself, Reggie Langhorne, Webster Slaughter, you could throw Gerald McNeil in there, Eric Metcalf. But I think Bernie and I had a special chemistry. We were both very competitive. In the off seasons, we used to like to play basketball one-on-one against each other. Big 6'5" Kosar and little me here. But it was always competitive. And I think we hated to lose. When I went to Boston College, we had huge success. He had great success winning the national championship at University of Miami. So I think from that perspective, you know, we were competitive. And then throwing the ball was something that Bernie wanted to do every play. So you had to be on the same page with Bernie. So not only was I on the same page, I think the offense was on the same page with Bernie. And you look at those teams, we had huge success.
You mentioned you're from Detroit, but you make your home in Cleveland, and you have since you retired from the NFL. Why have you done that, Brian?
Well, you know, Cleveland's a special place, not that Detroit isn't. Having played for the Browns for 8 years, people remember you. I could be standing in the line at the Starbucks coffee, and somebody will come up to me out of the blue and recognize me, say hello to me, and say, "You were a great player. I named my kid after you.
Wow.
I've named my dog after you." You know, so Cleveland.
Brennan or Brian for the dog?
Well, I know a family that one kid was named Brennan, and the other kid was named Brian.
Oh, man.
These parents were just, I guess, fans of mine when I played. But Cleveland is a very special place. The Browns have a special place in the NFL. Cleveland, to me, was a place where I could raise a family. Bethany, my wife, and I really enjoyed being members of the community here, still do. And there's no place better than Cleveland. There's no fan better than the Cleveland Browns fan. You know, this team may have struggled of late, but the Cleveland Browns will be back, and, you know, the fans will always be there.
Why are they so passionate, Brian?
Why are the fans passionate in Cleveland? Well, you know, you look at how meaningful football is to this Northeast Ohio area. You think about, you know, Paul Brown, and you think about some of the history of football, what Paul Brown brought to the game of football, the face mask, the helmet, and, you know, the game plan and things like that. So the fans in the state of Ohio, in Cleveland, are very knowledgeable fans. So when you look at that, you put that together with who the Cleveland Browns are, that's why I think the Cleveland Browns fan is so special.
Taking a look ahead, 2007, your thoughts on what the Browns have to do to get to where you want them to be, I want them to be, every Browns fan wants them to be?
Well, there's no question it's been difficult being a Cleveland Browns fan here of late. We've stumbled ever since the Browns came back in 1999. But as you look ahead to 2007, they really need to stay the course. They can't panic. I think the last couple drafts have been pretty good by Phil Savage. You know, Romeo needs to continue to try to surround himself with the right coaches, use the right disciplines with this team. And I think if we can somehow have a little bit more patience, Jeff, this team has the right ownership and, I think, qualities in the front office to bring us a champion. Now, you look at the AFC teams today that are great. You look at the Colts, you look at the Chargers, you look at New England Patriots, and you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and such. We have a long way to go, but we can get there. The New Orleans Saints last year chose second in the NFL draft, right? This year we're going to choose fourth. So we're already ahead of the New Orleans Saints, and they were in the NFC Championship game. So it doesn't take too much, a player here, a coach there, to make a difference. You saw it in New Orleans. I think you can see it here, no question.
Brian, as always, a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Brian Brennan, Browns receiver. When we come back, a guy who threw a few passes to Brian in his day, quarterback Mike Pagel.
The Tunnel.
It's a great sound, isn't it?
A long, narrow corridor where the roar of the crowd echoed and echoed all the way back to the locker room.
Dan Geller here again for Fish Furniture, where we're the largest Tempur-Pedic dealer in Ohio. What's he doing?
I told him that Tempur-Pedic mattresses were made from a space-age foam developed by NASA.
Yeah, but...
And that the foam contours to your body so you don't flop around at night when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah, but he's not moving. Do you think he's okay?
I think he's really comfortable. In fact...
Come see us at Fish Furniture and try a Tempur-Pedic mattress for an unbelievable risk-free 4-month home trial.
This is you after an energy drink. Unfortunately, so is this. Why do energy drinks make you crash? 1 minute you're wired up, the next you feel worse than before. The answer is the large amounts of sugar and caffeine. That's why you should try a new liquid energy shot called 5-Hour Energy. With 5-Hour Energy, you can leave grogginess behind and sail through your day without feeling jittery, tense, or, you know. That's because 5-Hour Energy contains a powerful blend of B vitamins for energy, amino acids for focus and better mood, and enzymes to help you feel it faster. There's 0 sugar, 0 net carbs, and only as much caffeine as a cup of coffee. The 2-ounce shot takes just seconds to drink, and in minutes you're feeling awake, alert, and productive. And that feeling lasts for hours. So if your energy drink makes you crash, switch to 5-Hour Energy. Hours of energy now, no crash later. Find out if 5-Hour Energy is right for you. It's available at these fine stores, or for more information, go to 5hourenergy.com.
Pac-10 heavyweights take center stage on FSN. The high-powered Bruins try to fight off an Oregon team looking to steal the conference's top spot. Tonight on FSN.
TV ratings are made for everyone. Using your television's parental controls along with the TV ratings found on each program gives you the power to choose which shows are suitable for your family. For more, visit this website or call the number on your screen.
At the 10, ahead to the 15, outside to the 20, to the 25, 30, 35, he needs a block at the 40, 45, 50, the gap at the 40, 25, 20, he's all the way for a touchdown!
He high-stepped that one all the way.
Here's Royals on the punt, gets the kick away, driving Metcalf all the way back to the 25, ahead to the 30. Outside to the 35, to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, in the Steelers' territory, at the 40, to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, 15, touchdown Brown! Unbelievable! You'll never see a better return than that! Eric Metcalf has brought this stadium to its feet! It's Pandemonium Palace!
Welcome back to 60 years of the Cleveland Browns. Clay Matthews wore the number 57 for 16 seasons as a member of the Browns. He is the Browns' all-time leader in games played. Clay's the guy who never seemed to age, either in his looks or in his play on the field. He bridged the 1980s and 90s and is really true to the axiom that actions speak louder than words.
It's unbelievable that Clay Matthews played for 19 years. Now, most inside linebackers in the 3-4, because of down and distance situation, may play for about 6 or 7 minutes. Clay played short yardage, played goal line. He was in all the situations.
The amazing thing about Clay, he was versatile in what he could do. Some years they say, okay, you're going to be our pass rushing linebacker. He did a phenomenal job. Some years they used him more coverage schemes. He did that amazing.
The hardest thing to find on defense is a linebacker who can play on a tight end and have the characteristics of a defensive lineman and play the run game, and then put him in space and have him cover the better backs coming out of the backfield, have him make tackles in space.
Clay was a very well put together guy, pretty stocky guy, had a lot of leverage. And, it was one of those deals where he knew when to take his shots when he had the opportunities and didn't take them when it maybe might put him in jeopardy. And, you got guys that, that kind of get hurt a lot, and then you got guys that don't get hurt at all. And he was one of those guys that, just was just a great pro that knew when to take his shots and when not to stay healthy and to give his team an opportunity as long as he was in the game.
An Iron Man, as you say, he just, there must have been some great genetic thing in his body that enabled him to just be out there and be consistent week after week after week. season after season and be able to put in a great performance and not miss any time. So I still don't have an explanation for that, other than we always say maybe he had a kind of a pact with the devil or something.
Sweetness is what we called him, and absolute respect is what I gave him, because the way he actually did what he was supposed to do, he was quick as a cat. His hands and body and everything was all over the place. But Clay brought an attitude to the defense of knowledge and hard work. I mean, Clay was one of those guys that worked hard in the offseason. You know, bright guy, 4 or 5 kids, drove a 71 Capri. Everybody joked about, dude, you got plenty of money. He's like, no, he comes to work in his jeans and does what he's supposed to do. And everybody liked Clay. I don't think there was one guy in the locker room that didn't like Clay Matthews in the way that he performed. He's one of the first guys on the field, getting stretched out, making sure he stays healthy, and that's probably one of the reasons why he played 19 years.
You could always count on Clay. He was a warrior on the field, and I think his mindset was one that was stronger than a lot of people's, and that's why he was able to go as long as he did. But Clay, man, when he hit that field, he was a warrior. He was quite quiet in the locker room, but he would get pretty hyped up on the playing field.
And this guy did it for an unbelievable 19 years. I think he's destined for the Hall of Fame.
Joining us now, a man who played quarterback for the Browns from 1986 to 1990, and my colleague at FSN Ohio, Mike Pagel. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We just saw a piece on Clay Matthews. Did this guy ever age? And as a player, how interesting was it to see a guy who just continued to stay about 27 years old, it seemed?
Well, 27 as far as the way he looked, but about 15 in the way he acted.
That's true.
He was a guy that just loved to play football. Very super intelligent guy, and had some very good observations. For instance, he used to tell me, I hate being a cover linebacker. I want to be the rush linebacker. Because when you're a rush linebacker and you do your job, everybody notices and you're a hero. When you're the cover linebacker and you make a mistake, everybody knows it and you're a goat. So that was some of the way that Clay used to think, and his thought processes out in the football field.
The latter part of your run with the Browns was the part of the transition the team went through from the late 80s, when things were really flying, to the 90s, when a little rebuilding had to be done, let's say. How tough of a time was that?
Well, in 89, we ended up going to the AFC Championship game and losing for the 3rd time to Denver. The next year, they basically gutted the whole team, and they about a 50 to 60% turnover in players. And we went from a very powerful mutter type of football team where we're just going to line up and beat on you, to more of a finesse speed type of team. And we went 3-13 the next year. Bud Carson got fired. Jim Schaffner took over as an interim. The wheels just came off, and it became a very ugly, ugly, ugly season. The things that were going on were just, thank God this is a family program, because I can't talk about the things that went on. It was just a terrible, nasty season in 1990 to play football here in Cleveland.
Your family is still in Arizona. I'm sure you never thought you would have frostbite on your fingers when you were growing up in Arizona, but you do from playing quarterback for the Browns. Yeah. What is it about this city, this franchise, that made you want to make this your home?
Well, had some choices to make. My ex-wife is from Indianapolis, and she said, let's move there. And I said, no, a little too close to your dad. I said, how about Phoenix? Let's move to Phoenix. She goes, no, a little too far from my dad. And since all 3 of my kids were born here in Cleveland, we said, you know what, this is a great place to raise kids. The community is very friendly. I just love the atmosphere around here, the generations that have grown up here, and the families that are here. Just to me, just said, this is a great place to raise kids, and this is where I'm going to stay.
Glad you did.
Thank you.
Thanks,
so
Mike.
It's my pleasure.
Browns quarterback, my FSN colleague, Mike Pagel. This 60-year tradition that is Cleveland Browns football seemed to be in jeopardy in 1995.
And as the final moments of the Browns in Cleveland dwindled away, the players made perhaps the most heroic gesture of the NFL season.
This is quite a scene. Everyone is on their feet as the players continue to walk up in front of the dog pound. They just want to hold on to the memories, see some of the players for the final time. They just want to sit and stay warm in the memories of so many years.
A glimpse into the future. Outstanding innovation. The next generation. Turn the key and drive your senses wild at the Cleveland Auto Show. More than 1,000 dazzling new cars from concepts to classics. Keep it steady on the off-road driving course and the new performance track inside the show. Meet stars from the Cavs, NASCAR, Browns, and the Ohio State football team. Enter to win a new Saturn Sky Roadster and the $20,000 gasoline giveaway. Order tickets at clevelandautoshow.com. Free parking at the IX Center.
Hey, hockey fans, want to win an unforgettable day at Nationwide? Then enter the Blue Jackets Sweet Day Sweepstakes. Here's your chance for you and 5 of your friends to cheer on the Blue Jackets. And where are the seats? A suite, of course. Watch as the Blue Jackets and Red Wings face off and enjoy all the perks of a suite at Nationwide. Just send your postcard to the address below with your name, age, address, and phone number. Registration ends March 3rd. Here's your chance to win an incredible day at Nationwide in the Blue Jackets Sweet Day Sweepstakes. Presented by Giant Eagle and FSN Ohio.
Next.
Pride Fighting Championships on FSN. The world's fattest man. Fighting's most unforgettable battles. Featuring lightweight champion Takanori Gomi, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, Kevin the Monster Randleman, and undefeated Fedor Emelianenko. Brace yourselves. Be there for the action. Sunday on FSN.
Browns football for 60 minutes. All right, let's go.
Let's go get him, let's go!
Let's set it up, special teams.
As the Belichick reign was coming to an end, there were rumblings that the Browns might leave Cleveland. It was unthinkable to most. But then it happened, right in the middle of 1995, as told by Brian Sipe and Jerry Shirk.
Isn't that why we came back here, was for us personally to have some closure on this thing?
No, I came back to squeeze a tear out of you.
How am I doing so far?
Not good.
Now, I don't know about you, but there's so much power in this. All this steel. I think of those steel mills down in the flats down there.
That made this stuff?
They put it together in 1932. Well, I mean, just the feel of this place it's overwhelming.
The guy's out here and he's buying a hot dog and he hears that roar of the crowd. He doesn't know if it's a Sipe interception or a Shirk sack.
Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
How you doing? What's the chance of our getting to shoot one of the numbers?
Scotty will let you.
My son wishes he could do this. I wish Jerry could see me. She says I won't work. She's got painting at home she wants me to do. Will you tell my wife I actually can paint?
Brian did okay with the 5, but my dad was a plastering contractor, so I got it in my blood. That's how you paint the field.
I'm sorry, but I got a play I've always wanted to run.
What play would that be?
Well, it's a pass play called Red Right 88.
Okay, sounds like an oldie but goodie.
You're out here. You probably never heard of that one, have you? No, you're in close. You're Aussie. You're in close.
Never heard of it.
You're in close. Come on. This is important to me, darn it. Get serious.
Last time it cost me 10 grand when you ran this play.
Running down. End of the game. Sid. Hut. Oh, my goodness. He ducks Hendricks. Aussie's open in the back of the end zone. He catches it. The Browns win. We're on our way to San Diego. They can't stop us now. We're playing catch on the roof of the stadium. Huh?
Yeah. On the roof, baby.
Just a moment in time. You remember 46 guys trying to get in here at once?
Yeah. This was the victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are you going after the game? Here's the losers.
The locker room of all locker rooms.
This thing's an antique.
They just don't get nicer than this. I remember walking down this tunnel and
feeling like a deer caught in the headlights of a truck.
By a warrior ready to go.
Pretty amazing down there today.
It was unbelievable. I guess I never thought I'd see a town love a team so much. Today a guy asked me if Cleveland could recover from this. You know what I told him? Always has, always will.
The membership voted unanimously after more than 5 hours of discussion with one abstention to accept the offer of the Lerner policy group. So Alfred Lerner will be the new owner of the Cleveland Browns.
If you leave out my wife's MasterCard and from the equation, it's the biggest check I've ever written by a lot. What do I physically get back for it? I think it's a set of feelings. I think it's what happens when the Browns take the field for the first time in this new stadium.
And what a scene here at Cleveland Stadium. Fireworks going off.
Announcing the Great Super Bowl Sale at the Great Escape, where you'll find everything to create the ultimate Super Bowl party. Like clearance prices on hundreds of floor model pool tables from American Heritage. Right now, get a deluxe slate pool table for only $6.99. Or buy our best-selling Vegas collection and get a pool table, player's kit, 4-in-1 bar, and 2 stools for only $8.99. Complete your room with plush home theater seats starting at $2.99. This sale ends Super Bowl Sunday, only at the Great Escape.
Escape your everyday, shop the Great Escape.
After every Cavaliers game on FSN Ohio, watch the Cavaliers live postgame. Relive the game slam dunk by slam dunk and see how it all gets done. Watch the Cavaliers live postgame on FSN Ohio. Presented by Pontiac and GMC.
The Cavaliers are a team designed for action, and so is the entire Pontiac team for 2007. See them all at your Pontiac dealer, official sponsor of the Cavaliers live postgame. Visit your local dealer at PontiacOhio.com.
Covering the world of motorsports like no one else. This is the Speed Report.
Oh, look at that.
Going beyond the highlights.
Special sauce for the fans.
To bring you the full story.
How did you do it?
With expert analysis.
What Formula One needs is personnel.
A brilliant victory for him today. The guy that got shafted here.
And unrivaled access.
Great pit stop, heck of a race. You went for it.
From the network the drivers watch.
The Speed Report.
This is awesome.
The Speed Report. Only on Speed.
The game is on. Learn to play the horses and play for free. TVGFree.net. Learn from horse racing experts.
Let me help you pick a winner.
Challenge the leaderboard and compete to win valuable prizes every day. Go to TVGFree.net right now.
And they're off.
Get in the game. It's fun. It's free.
One final surge.
Pick the winner.
They're coming down to the finish.
Learn from the pros. Play to win. TVGFree.net.
So the Browns left Cleveland, but the spirit of the Cleveland Browns didn't. Joining us now, the man who was really the face of the Cleveland Browns fans during the negotiations to bring the Browns back to town, Big Dog John Thompson. And John, I must say, you look a little different than you did when you were testifying before Congress in 1996.
Yeah, there's slightly about 350 pounds smaller, but yeah, there's a little difference.
Well, congratulations.
It's good stuff, no doubt. Thank you.
How did the movement start, John, to bring the Browns back? Because immediately there was an outcry about the franchise leaving, but an outcry is not the same thing as a movement.
No, there was basically a couple different groups basically out there. There was a very vendetta group, but then there was the Save Our Browns campaign, which Mayor Whitehead started, and opened up an office on East 6th in Short Vincent, and I went down and just donated my time, and basically for me, that's how I got started involved with the Save Our Browns campaign, which was the group that actually helped save the Browns. I think that with our valiant efforts of putting together some strategic emailing and faxing and phoning, I think that we really made an impression, not only here in Cleveland and in New York in the offices of the NFL, but I think we made a pretty big movement around the whole country and the world. I mean, we brought in Save Our Browns campaign brought in people from Hawaii, from Mexico, from Alaska. We had from all over the United States, and then we also had people from Australia. And Browns backers were everywhere, and they still are everywhere, and it's awesome.
John, who were some of the key people and key former players involved in bringing back the Browns?
I think that naturally Arnold Pinckney and being the one of the committee chairs of the Save Our Browns, I think that he was a major part of helping organize a lot of stuff as far as Save Our Browns went. But there were some players behind the scenes that you don't hear much about. The work that they put into it. Dick Ambrose put a ton of time into helping save the Browns, and it doesn't get a lot of credit that he should get. I think that Greg Pruitt's another one that also put in a lot of time that doesn't get it. You had Cleo Miller and Eddie Johnson. Those four guys, just personally that I know, that spent a lot of time traveling around, the state of Ohio, fighting and telling people, what it was all about as far as our spirit and keeping it alive. And that was my goal for the time, was to let people know that hey, we need to keep the spirit alive, and we're not quitting on this. And we're going to let people know that we want our football team, and we want our name and our colors, and we want our history. And the history was for those players, the players that played the '64 championship team. Those guys. You have Hall of Famers that could have been the Baltimore Browns. I mean, they would have been going down there to see the Baltimore Browns. It just doesn't make sense.
What do you think about the atmosphere at Brown Stadium?
I think it's up and down. I think that the team struggled. The team's had some hard times since they've been back. And anytime you struggle, people want to win. Fans want to win. They want to be able to, call their friends in Indiana, or call their friends in Pittsburgh, or call their friends wherever in the United States and say, "Hey, we won." They like to win, and that's a tough thing. I mean, sometimes it's tough. I mean, I even take some of the repercussions when the team loses. People look for somebody that they can, vent on, and hey, who better than Big Dog? So I take a lot of venting when the team loses. So it's sometimes rougher on me than most fans. But you know what? I think that we just have to stay the course, and eventually we're going to come out of this, and we're going to start winning some football games. And I'm really excited. I'm so excited right now of Phil Savage. I think that I've seen what he's built before, with his tutelage that he started here in Cleveland in '94, and he helped put together a pretty darn good football team in Baltimore. And I think he's on the right road doing it here.
We appreciate your efforts, and we appreciate you being with us today.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Casey Coleman left us this year, but his legacy is forever, including in Berea, where this dedication took place in the fall. Casey, we miss you.
A glimpse into the future. Outstanding innovation. The next generation. Turn the key and drive your senses wild at the Cleveland Auto Show. More than 1,000 dazzling new cars from concepts to classics. Keep it steady on the off-road driving course and the new performance track inside the show. Meet stars from the Cavs, NASCAR, Browns, and the Ohio State football team. Enter to win a new Saturn Sky Roadster and the $20,000 gasoline giveaway. Order tickets at clevelandautoshow.com. Free parking at the IX Center.
You're not the same person I met online. What happened to the happy boy in the yearbook picture? I told myself I would not leave this date crying. Did you know chickens are the only thing that don't have nasal passages? Let's talk about something fun. How about magic?
Tired of bad dates? Maybe it's time to try eHarmony. At eHarmony, we only match you with other singles who have been pre-screened for compatibility with you. So when you get to the first date, you know you have so much in common. Log on today and get your free personality profile.
After the Musketeers rock the rim on FSN Ohio, watch the McCluskey Chevrolet Xavier Hardcourt Report. Catch all the highlights, interviews, and the stats from the tip-off to the buzzer. Watch the McCluskey Chevrolet Xavier Hardcourt Report on FSN Ohio.
Visit McCluskey Chevrolet for the best automotive experience of your life. Guaranteed credit approval and interest rates as low as 6.9%. Call the one number 761-1111.
You know those rating icons you see on TV? There's one made for everybody. They work with your television's parental controls to give you control over which programs your family enjoys. So you can choose between watching TVMA, which is perfect for grown-ups, to watching TVG, which is also perfect for grown-ups. For more information on TV ratings and the V-chip, visit this website or call the number on your screen.
60 years of the Cleveland Browns on FSN Ohio has been brought to you by the 2007 Cleveland Auto Show. Open February 24th through March 4th.
For 60 years, the Browns have been Cleveland, and Cleveland has been the Browns. You can debate it all you want, but it is what the fans want. And if it weren't for you, the fans, the Cleveland Browns would just be any other NFL team. The NFL likes to define the year in certain time periods. But if the rest of the NFL was like the Cleveland Browns, they would need a daily calendar, if not an hourly calendar. Because through all the joys and disappointments, the bitter and the sweet, the leaving and the returning, this is our team. No love them and leave them here. For 60 years, the Cleveland Browns have been ours, and we're not letting go. Thank you very much for watching.
You got to come down the line of scrimmage.